guys, so hang on because technology is not cooperating with me. But what I did is I put a little project together in my memory hood of my childhood, and this special little dedication that I put together is for my grandfather. So our first stop was 96 Dana Ave. And as you can see, the house is no longer there. My cousin's house is right here, so I used to be able to just come right out. So imagine, if you will, probably from where this gate is to just about probably within here, I would say would occupy another house, would you think? Somewhere in there. A lot has definitely changed and gone from 96 Dana Ave. As you can see, what I wrote there, right? That's where I was born and raised, but house is no longer there, but I'm pretty sure the spirits still remain. And then as I took a look around, I noticed a lot of changes were made. So hang on tight, we're going to go for a little flight to the next stop. This is in no particular order, I just put this together. Hang on tight to our next destination. And I went and chose Cafe Italia, this great place to go, by the way. If you haven't gone for dinner, I highly suggest it. Not quite sure how they're doing that today due to this little new world we're in with this COVID, so check them out. I'm pretty sure you can check them out on the website and give them a call. But the many times that we would hang out here, so the many nights my grandfather would visit here, the great food that we had, the great times that we had over and over again. Those that know my grandfather very well would know exactly where to find my grandfather and be seated. We'll just call it not too far from the stairs, right? And so, I mean, for the most part, really, not too much has changed here. I know the gas station is somewhat changed over in here, but this is right on Central Ave. But I can tell you, great family here for Joe Romero and his wife when they first opened this. A lot of history here. My grandfather and I did some work in here. Good family, great food, great times. And then in this section here, I would know people that would live there. I didn't want to add too many names in here without their consent first. That maybe down the road some we'll try to figure it out later. But hang on tight as we go on to the next destination, and we're gonna head there. Hold on one second. We're gonna go for a little bit of a flight here. And where do we take off to? I chose 105 Rosemont Street, which is another house that my grandfather owned, right? So the cool part about this is there's a park right across the way, so I could just go to this park quite often. It's been many times. Only because I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see if I can get up the street here where family members were, Sam and Mafalda. I'll just throw that out there for family recognition. Give me a minute, I'll get up there. The many nights that, or many times that we would spend a lot of good memories there. Just go right up the street, or a couple houses up, excuse me. Let's see if I can get there. It's pretty much right where that white car is, so that's where I'm trying to get to right now. And let's see if the technology will let me get there. It's a little bit further, and then I'll just spin it. So, of course, this is another house that, most of my family members would be at. The many times we would spend Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lot of good memories there, and of course some sad as well. More so when my grandfather and my grandmother passed away. But as you can see, the park would be right there. And then, of course, naturally coming back down to 105 Rosemont Street. I'm just going to go down here, go to the right, a couple houses down. So it wasn't too far for me to go. And again, that's 105 Rosemont Street. Hang on tight as we go to our next location. Where are we going to head off to now, people? Decided to go to the Saratoga Raceway later at night. Hang on tight while that picture comes in a little bit more clear. It'll come clear. I can tell you a lot of times that we spent here throughout the day. We would go from one race to the next, leading into the harness racing, right? Spend some really cool time here. Down here through the pavilion, as they call it. And I'm not quite sure if I was, if I was to pull up and through here where we would preview the horses before they would come on the track. Of course, a lot has changed, more so probably now, but when I was out there in 2005, there's a good old casino there now, so most of this area that when my grandfather and I were here, a lot of difference. But my grandfather also owned his own horse called Tails You Lose, so definitely spent some time here. Again, that'd probably be in another documentary that I'll do. Hang on tight as we go to our next location. And we chose Lake George. Now, there's a few spots here in Lake George, but I used to come here when I was a small kid. A lot of cool stuff down in here. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could find many hotels or motels that we stayed at the time. But I remember this place very well, the House of Frankenstein. Frankenstein used to stand outside, and you go in, you go through the wax museum. The many different arcades and shops that would be through here. Later, as I got older, I would spend a whole entire day here to myself. There was one time where I spent the night here. I'd have to pull up exactly, but as you can see, there's all kinds of cool stuff to do, right? Village Mall, and just be able to walk this area, and you'll bring you to the next stop. Hold on tight. We're staying inside Lake George. This one here is now, it's called Six Flags, I believe. But I don't know if this sign is still sitting there saying The Great Escape, but I remember when it was Storytown. Not telling my age, people. But anyway, this particular roller coaster here, this would probably be one of the very first roller coasters that I would ride when I would get to the park. I know at one time, right where it says The Great Escape was where the water ride was, and take the loom or whatever. But I would spend many days here. As I got older, I would come and grab a season ticket and ask people to come join me, but not too many people took me up on my offer, but nonetheless, I would spend a day here, and then just as this park closed, or there was another spot, I'm not quite sure if that's there anymore, but according to my flight that I'm taking you on, it's sort of there. Gaslight Village, and I kind of did an overall aerial view, kind of give you an idea. But I used to come through the fun park, Gaslight Village, because there'd be rides there too, right? So as I said, it's not too far, right? You just can come down the road a little, because there's that wax museum that I was telling you, so it's not really far. A lot of stuff to do, but I would spend many nights here. Great lake to go to and spending the day for sure. I know I spent the night or two there. Let's see here. Now I'm going to take you to another spot here. Western Hills Park. I know my grandfather did some work with inside here, but I used to go here when I was a kid. We'd go swimming. Couldn't pull up the pool, but I figured I'd do just an over aerial shot, right? Later in life, when I was a small guy, I would play Little League, but my eyes were more on the girls at the time, more than my eye was on the ball. So But needless to say, later in life, I would spend some time here on my own. I would just pull in, spend some time in the park on my own, just wander through. Because behind here, I'm sure McDonald's is somewhere within here. So, you just walk through the park and you'd be back there with no problem. Right? And then you're back on the main drive. But a lot of good memories here, and I would spend some time here too. Off to the next spot, people. Hold on tight. Where are we headed next? We're going to take it to the very first school that I went to from kindergarten to about 6th grade. There are a few other schools that I went into in between, but I didn't add them in on this one. But I remember this place very well. At one point, if I was to come up the road, I don't want to blur this out, so because of the lag time. But Stuart wasn't far from here; it'd be right on the corner. I remember when I used to go to Stuart's, get their ice cream, great ice cream. Then I'd buy some treats, and then when I went back to school, I treated the entire class, and well, then my teacher was trying to figure out how I did that. That will be in my other documentary to come. Up to the next place there, folks. Hold on tight. Where are we going to go? Hackett Middle School. This would be my middle school, right? From 7th to 8th grade, and this is where life really starts to get interesting, right? Price Chopper is pretty much up on just up through this area here. I'm not sure if it's Price Chopper still, but I know the school is here because I've had some people drive by. The school has definitely gone through some transitions since I've gone to school, but for the most part, it's somewhat one and the same. This wouldn't be too far from 96th Ave, so I could simply walk. And well, along my journey, I met a lot of people, and of course, naturally, I was probably more out of school than in. I could go out the back way and then head to McDonald's, which most people would come down here to the corner, go around the block, and be in there. A lot of history. Again, that's going to be a story to come in my other documentary. So, great history that starts here. Again, I don't want to mention too many people in this video without their consent first, because that's going to be a story to come in my other documentary. Where are we going to go out to next, people? Well, of course, naturally, Albany High, right? This is where I would go to high school. Of course, spend many times in the track, right? Pretty big high school, right? Many different fields. As you can see, it's very easily you can get to different other areas, right? No problem. Another school that was more out than in. A lot of good memories there, especially towards the track. Great memories. Again, those of you know, I'm pretty sure you recognize this track pretty well. I know the field. Just not in the way you think. That also will be an upcoming documentary to the story. Our last stop that I put on here, just to kind of add this out, the dry cleaner. My great-grandmother would be here working, which that would be my grandfather's mother. Worked here for many years, and his brother-in-law would always be in the back doing the seamstress, and his wife would be inside in the dry cleaning area. The many days and times that we would spend here. I used to come here quite often. I would come in and say hello to my uncle, and if his wife was working, of course, then she'd say hello. They usually worked most times. I caught their 50th anniversary come up in the World Wide Web. I know they posted that out there a long time ago, but the many times, especially as I got older, and once my grandfather passed away, well, Came a little bit harder to come visit here. Um, but great memories. Great job all the time. The city, well known this place to get your clothes dried, cleaned, you name it. Always fabulous. Always did a good time. Oh, very great memories in there. So this particular content of this content was. If I zoom out, it will kind of give you an idea. I'm gonna go back. So it's basically celebrating life. You know, my childhood. This is a project that is a special dedication to my grandfather. You know, as I said, you know, um, adding it in, right? So um, it's gonna start right from the beginning, going back to 96 Dana Ave, right? Because that's where I was born. That's where I was raised. Unfortunately, the house that I was born in no longer there, as you can well see. A lot has came, a lot has gone in here. I mean, I see that there's a apartment complexes here now, and up the road I noticed that there was a few other things. Then I would come down the street. I would always head down to the gas station at the Lombardo's gas station. Of course, naturally, hopefully everybody's well there, and then there's a park not too far down the road. So all I had to do is come down the street, as you can see. Alright. Let's see if I can get there. I'm gonna see if we can do this real quick. I didn't throw it in here because I couldn't pull up the park quite that well. See, it's gonna get blurry on me because I'm trying to pull it up, but there we go. I'll just do an aerial view because those that know, I used to come here a lot, going through the park. And then later in life, I would go to this bar many times as I got older. Of course, naturally, Albany Med up the road. Well, what the memories are there. I guess that's the one spot that I forgot to add in there for this particular one to kind of show you the hospital that I was in. So maybe we'll get there. Hang on tight. Let's put in. Hold on. Let's see if that pull that up. Yep. Of course, naturally, this is going to take some time to pull up in there, as it does, right? So as it loads, right? Let's see if I can. I know I can zoom in. It's just going to take it some time as I load this real quick. I'll let it get to about 50% or so. See, as it tries to get in there closer, right? So that way we can stop spinning. Oh, it's saying it's 100%, but I'm trying to zoom in a little bit better. But that would kind of give you an area idea, because this is where I was pretty much born when, you know, as far as the hospital is concerned. If I take my little guide down here and we see if we can get to a street. I don't think it's going to let me. Ooh, you know, go right there. Hang on tight while we try to get a more closer view. Yeah, that's not quite where I want it to be, but you get the idea. So this would be the hospital I was definitely born in. Good old St. Peter's Hospital. The many trips there. So let me add this into my place real quick. Hold on tight. We'll say edit. Let's do a zoom out. And we'll just do an aerial shot. And I'll put my little notes in there later, for sure. But that's pretty much where this guy got started. Born in St. Pierre Hospital. A lot of good memories inside there. So for now, I'm going to end. I'm going to see if I can re-add the music to end this out. I'd like to thank you for joining me in on my childhood memories here. Again, this was a special dedication to my grandfather. Working on a few other things as well. So hopefully technology work with me a little better. But thank you for tuning in. And until we see one together, you kind of get an idea. Another documentary will come. Just hang on for that. Okay. So I believe now that's added in, yeah.